As a big football fan, I thought and assumed that I knew everything about one of the greatest football players of all time, Tom Brady, about all his Super Bowls, about all his MVP seasons, about his move to Tampa, of course, his recent divorce. But what I found very interesting is something I recently read. Some of you may know that Tom Brady has 3 children, a son, Jack, and a daughter, Vivi, and a youngest son named Benny. Now, being one of the greatest football players of all time, I just assumed that all 3 of his children loved sports. And 2 of them do. His son, Jack, his oldest son, hopes to be a great football player like his dad one day. His daughter, Vivi, also plays sports. But I found it fascinating that his son, Benny, has absolutely no interest in sports at all. None. No interest in playing any sports. And years ago, Brady admitted that he had difficulty coming to grips that his son, Benny, had no interest in sports. Brady, like any good parent, assumed that his love and his passion for what he loves, the game of football, would be passed down to all of his children. And I think in many ways, those of us who are parents do the same. No matter the interest, no matter the hobby, if we love football or basketball, baseball or golf, theater or music, we assume that our children will feel the same. But often I find that we look for our children not only to like the interests and hobbies that we enjoy, but also to do something else for us, to live out our dreams. When we adults were kids, we had big dreams. We spent our childhood and adolescence absorbing wonderful stories of adventure, heroes, and fantasies, and we dream, like all children should. We dream of achieving the highest ideals of our fantasy life, of being president, landing on the moon, or becoming a star. We imagine ourselves one day as wealthy or famous or wise, venerating a galaxy of admired adults. We imagine ourselves as one of them, as one of the best. In the fantasies of children, life has no end, possibilities, no limit. And we're not alone in spinning those dreams. Children dream, but they do so with the active consent and encouragement of their parents, grandparents, teachers, and a supporting cast of thousands. And all of us, when we were children, we dreamed. But then the reality sits in. We may have good lives, happy with our lot in life. We may feel accomplished in our careers, but who doesn't have unfulfilled dreams? Hopes that just never panned out. We may love to follow pro football, but we never came close to playing past middle school. We may be good at what we do in our careers, but very few people outside of our community know who we are. We may have a nice house, drive a nice car, but we'll never be featured on lifestyles of the rich and famous. So too often, we look to our children, or even our grandchildren, to fulfill all of our unaccomplished dreams. Often I see parents who drive their children to the ballet and music classes, to the ballparks, and urge them on with their science projects and SAT prep classes, not for the children, but they do it with the hope that they will become what they dreamed of and gave up. If we could not grow up to become Nobel laureates, our children must. Let them become business magnates like we couldn't, or nominees for the Hall of Fame. Often without even becoming aware of our own fantasies, we impose them on our children. Parents with great kids, well-behaved, kind, hardworking, but it's not enough, because the parents are hoping their children will fulfill the dreams they could not. We make peace with our own limitations, concede to reality only by shifting the object of our endless submission. I won't ever be a concert pianist, but my children might. And this pattern of reality disappointing one generation, causing them to transfer their hopes and dreams onto the next generation, is as old as humanity itself. My teacher, Rabbi Brad Artson, points out the following in our Torah reading today. Leah realizes that her husband Jacob doesn't love her as much as he loves his other wife, her sister Rachel. Imagine the pain. In wrestling with that pain, the anger and the disappointment of rejection, lonely in the face of her husband's disinterest, Leah is the one with tremendous hopes. In the depths of her cries, she pines a passion that she would never know. And she does so through her sons. Each of her 4 sons, one after another, embodies yet another desperate attempt to win over her husband's love. Each one is therefore loved not for himself, not for being a beautiful infant. Instead, her sons represent hope deferred and aspiration transferred. And she shows this by choosing names which reflect her own experiences. Leah uses the naming of her children to work through her desperation to get her husband Jacob to finally notice her. Her firstborn, Reuben, which means, look, a son, or look at my affliction, or even let him love me finally. She then bears her second son, Shimon, meaning, because the Lord heard that I was unloved and has given me this one also. And then her third son, Levi, which means my husband will become attached to me finally, for I have borne him 3 sons. Imagine giving your children names not for who they are or who they may become, but for your own grief, for the hope of getting your spouse to finally notice you. And each one of these boys embodies yet another cry of pain and of grief, another unsuccessful attempt to win the affection of her husband Jacob. Interestingly enough, all these 3 sons, as adults, disappoint and anger their father, producing tragedy for the aged patriarch. Should we not be surprised? It's hard to turn out okay if our parents are constantly putting their own hopes and dreams on us. And I see it often, from generation to generation. Children with all the stresses that our young deal with today, the children who have to deal with the extra burden of parents who put all their hopes and dreams on them instead of loving them for who they are. I think over the years, I've become a better parent, or tried to become a better parent, because I finally realized it's not about me. It's not about my unfulfilled dreams or the hopes that I haven't accomplished yet and putting them on my 3 children. It's about letting them live out their lives for who they are, letting them live out their dreams, not my dreams. And Leah finally gets it. Finally, with the birth of her 4th son, Judah, she achieves that great inner strength that we admire Leah for today. And she gets that inner strength to stop craving for a husband's approval. She no longer lusts after his concern. She's able to stand on her own, and she shows it by naming her 4th son Judah, which means this time I shall praise the Lord. With her 4th child, Leah gives up the hopes of changing Jacob. Instead, she has a son, and it's about him and his dreams. She comes to recognize her own worth independent of the esteem of her husband Jacob. And while grieved by his rejection, she accepts the reality of the present without having to impose her dreams on her 4th son. Eventually, Tom Brady also came to grips that not all of his children were going to like sports. Brady was quoted as saying he finally was able to grow as a father when he realized that his son Benny just liked different things, and that was okay. And their father-son relationship improved when he let his son dictate what he wanted to do. My friends, on this Shabbat of this Torah portion, my charge for all of us is the following. For those of us who are blessed to be parents or grandparents, in our own lives, we too will face disappointments and the need to relinquish our childhood ambitions and dreams. And like Leah, can we grow to accept ourselves and reality without saddling the next generation, our children, with the unrealized fantasies of their parents? And only then are we in a position to truly praise, to truly thank, and to truly love our children for exactly who they are. Shabbat shalom, everyone. And we're now ready to go to the last third.